Hey y'all, if you're new here or just haven't done it yet, do me a huge favor. Smash that subscribe button. It's totally free and you'll be supporting the channel in a big way. Now, let's dive into today's story. Out here in the Appalachian Mountains, deep in these old hills, hollows, ridges, and valleys, no matter where you go or who you ask, there are always stories. Stories of ghosts, things seen, things heard, that no one's ever been able to explain. This particular tale comes from Jessica Whitworth, and it's one her dad, Glenn, shared with them while they were growing up. It dates back to the early 70s in Alabama, when Jared and his friend, Dale, were planning a camping trip. They had their gear ready, snacks, food, sleeping bags, and were about to go when they realized rain was expected. But then they remembered something. Dale's dad had a friend who owned a lot of land deep in the mountains, land with a few old houses scattered around. So they figured they'd call him up, see if they could camp out there instead. After a quick chat, the man agreed to let them stay on the property for a couple of days. Now, these two had some bikes that they'd pieced together, barely running, but they got by. And so, they rode them into the mountains, heading toward the old houses. It felt like they were biking forever, but when they finally arrived, it was getting late. Thankfully, the moon was shining bright, so they could still see. They scouted both houses to figure out which one was in the best shape to stay in. After some time, they decided on one, unpacked their stuff, and settled in. But there was something off about these houses. Something strange. Both stood in the middle of a field, about 30 to 40 feet apart, facing one another. And that was it. Nothing else in the whole field. The owner had told them that no one, not even the locals, knew the history of these houses. He even mentioned that the man he'd gotten the land from had never even mentioned any houses being there. He'd just stumbled upon them one day. Once settled in, they made a fire in the old fireplace and started playing cards. As usual, Dale's dad always carried some sort of weapon for protection, though Dale liked to call him a blockhead for it. Then, suddenly, Dale jumped up, grabbed his pistol, and whispered, "Hey, we're not alone." Glenn grabbed his own gun, and both men quickly jumped up, asking, "Where are they?" They peeked through the window, looking over to the other house, and there, standing in the doorway, was an old man. But there was no door, just the doorway. What was even stranger was that behind him, there was a faint glow. Not a bright light, just a soft, eerie glow. The man didn't say a word, just stared at them, turned his head slowly, and then vanished. Dale was shaken to the core, but Glenn told him to hang on. He thought maybe someone was playing tricks on them, trying to spook them and run them off. So, he decided to check things out. Walking over to the other house, gun in hand, they searched the area, circled the houses, but there was no way anyone could have crossed that field so quickly. That's when they realized it wasn't anyone messing with them. It was something else. Glenn admitted later that he was spooked too. From that point on, they knew they weren't getting any sleep. They decided to stick it out until dawn, planning to leave as soon as daylight broke. A little while later, they got back into their card game to pass the time, but they were still on edge. Then, suddenly, both of them froze. They looked at each other, confused, because they heard the unmistakable sound of a team of horses galloping across the field, like they were charging at full speed. They grabbed their guns again, peering through the window, straining to see. through the moonlight. They could even see the dust kicking up, but there was nothing in sight. Yet, they both swore they could hear the hooves pounding the ground, the sound of the reins, and even the creak of an old wagon moving. The noise grew louder and louder, getting closer, until it seemed to stop right between the two houses. Then, just as suddenly, it faded away into nothing. That was the last straw. They quickly gathered their things, snacks, sleeping bags, and all, and put out the fire. They rushed to their bikes, started them up, and headed back out the way they'd come. The trail led them up the ridge and then curved back around. As they rounded the bend, they could see the houses from a distance. Dale always said he was glad he didn't look down, but Glenn couldn't help it. As soon as he looked down, there was the old man again, standing right between the two houses. And this time, Glenn could see through him. But that wasn't all. The old man wasn't alone. Behind him, he could see two horses and an old wagon circling the houses, their hooves pounding against the earth. The man was standing there, waving, as if calling them back.